All right, let's jump right into a really powerful idea today, the velocity of value. We're going to explore what happens when the most overlooked variable in business, which is time, suddenly becomes the only thing that actually matters. So let's start right here. This quote, this is the central mystery we're unpacking. The idea that failure isn't usually about making a bad product, it's about focus. It begs the question, right? What is this wrong variable that so many smart companies get totally obsessed with? And that brings us to our first section. See, the problem usually isn't that companies have the wrong answers. It's that they're asking the wrong questions in the first place. They're pouring all these incredible resources into solving problems that the market, well, it's already moved on from. Now, we're going to talk a lot about Polaroid, but let's be super clear. This is not a history lesson on cameras. Not at all. This is a deep dive into strategy, into how customer value can literally shift right under your nose, and why the biggest, most successful companies are often the last ones to see it coming. So what is it? What's this invisible force that completely redefines value? Well, that brings us to the real heart of our analysis today, the hidden variable, which is time. This is the secret ingredient that completely turns industries upside down. In classic business strategy, we think of value as having all these different dimensions: quality, price, reliability, and so on. Most companies, they pick one of these to be great at, and they just assume the others are kind of fixed. But that assumption, that is exactly where the danger is hiding. And this leads us to a really key concept called value reweighting. It's this idea that customers are always making these subconscious trade-offs. They will happily accept a drop in, say, quality if another dimension, like speed, improves by a huge amount. Their priorities literally get reweighted on the fly. And that brings us to the variable at the absolute center of this shift, time to value. It's actually a pretty simple idea. It's just the gap between a customer wanting something and then getting the satisfaction from it. And the shorter you can make that gap, well, the higher the velocity of your value. And this, right here, illustrates the huge difference in mindset. You've got the established companies, the incumbents, who see time as a cost. It's a logistical problem you have to manage and maybe slowly optimize. But the disruptors? Oh no. They see collapsing that time not as some operational improvement, but as the actual product they are selling you. And listen, this isn't just some business school theory. It is baked right into our psychology. There's a concept known as hyperbolic discounting, which is just a fancy way of saying our brains are hardwired to want things now. We will consistently choose a smaller, immediate reward over a much better one that we have to wait for. Immediacy just feels so much better than quality. Okay, so let's make this real. It's time to open the case file on Polaroid. This is where the theory gets put to the test. Because, Polaroid didn't invent a better camera. They invented a faster photograph. And in doing that, they changed the entire game. So you have to wonder, why did the giants of photography, like Kodak, completely miss this? Well, they were suffering from something called metric lock-in. This is such a critical concept. It's when a company gets so good at measuring its own success that it fails to notice the market has started keeping score in a completely different way. I mean, this slide just shows the disconnect perfectly. You had Kodak and the others obsessing over things like resolution, color accuracy, the permanence of the physical photo, and they were winning on those metrics. But their customers? They had already unconsciously reweighted their own values toward things like emotional immediacy, being able to share it with friends, and getting that instant feedback. See, Polaroid wasn't selling a better picture, it was selling a faster feeling. So this isn't just about changing what you measure. It's about a complete and fundamental restructuring of how value gets delivered in the first place. It's a pattern we call the value chain collapse. Remember the old way of doing things? Getting a photo was a chore. You had to take the picture, then send the roll of film to a lab, then you'd wait for days, then you'd have to physically go and pick it up. Every single one of those steps added friction and just delayed the value. And this is the crucial insight right here. The genius of Polaroid wasn't making step 2 or step 4 a little bit better or a little bit cheaper. Its genius was in completely eliminating them. They collapsed that whole value chain from 4 steps down to just 1. And that is almost always way more powerful than just making small improvements. And honestly, once you see this pattern, you start seeing it everywhere. Think about finance moving from a 3-day settlement to an instant one, or logistics going from weeks to same-day delivery. Media collapsed the entire printing press into instant publishing. In every single case, the winner is the one who removes the waiting. So, this brings us to the final and I think most important section. It's time to turn the lens back on ourselves and ask some really hard questions. Are you, in your own work, optimizing for something that just doesn't matter anymore? Let's be really clear about the diagnosis here. Companies like Kodak didn't fail because they were stupid or because they ignored technology. They failed because they were too good at the wrong thing. They were achieving absolute excellence in a dimension of value that the market had already walked away from. So the first question you have to ask yourself is brutally simple. What is the single most important variable our organization is built to optimize? Is it quality? Is it price? Reliability? You have to have a really honest answer. And here's the immediate follow-up. You have to look outside your own building. Is your customer still playing the same game you are? Are they still making their buying decisions based on that same variable? Or have their priorities quietly shifted while you just weren't looking? And finally, here it is, the ultimate stress test. What happens to your business model if a competitor shows up who doesn't make a better product but simply collapses the time to value? If they deliver the outcome instantly, does your amazing advantage in quality or price still even matter? The takeaway here is really direct. If you and your team can't answer these 3 questions with total clarity, then you're not really running on strategy. You're just running on a set of assumptions about the world that might already be dangerously out of date. And we'll end with this thought, because this is the new reality of strategy. You can have the best product on the planet, you can be winning every single quality award, but if the market has redefined what value means around speed, then you're not just falling behind, you're already late to the game. The rules have changed, and believe me, the clock is ticking.